Today, we're diving into one of the biggest headaches in modern IT, that overwhelming, sometimes crushing complexity of enterprise architecture. But here's the twist. We're not going to talk about creating more documentation. Nope, we're going to explore a completely new way of thinking about building a living, breathing intelligence layer right on top of everything you already have.
So I want you to just pause and think about this for a second. As an enterprise architect, you're supposed to be the keeper of the library, right? The person who knows where every book is, how all the stories connect. But if we're being honest, for so many of us, the day-to-day reality feels a lot more like being lost in a labyrinth. The map to your whole tech landscape, it exists, sure, but it feels like it's been torn into 1,000 pieces and scattered across a maze of digital hallways.
And that feeling, that chaos, leads right to the core problem. Let's give it a name: document rot. You know that sinking feeling, right? You desperately need one critical piece of info, and you know it's out there, somewhere, buried in some ancient PowerPoint, a Visio diagram nobody's touched in 5 years, or one of 10,000 Confluence pages. It's that constant, draining context switching that just kills your focus. And this isn't just annoying, it's a massive roadblock to getting anything done with speed and confidence.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll really dig into what we're calling the architect's information trap. Then, we'll get to the good stuff, the solution, building an enterprise second brain. After that, we'll see how we can turn all that sleepy data into real intelligence, move on to some seriously powerful interactive analysis, and then wrap up by looking at the future with the always-on advisor.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the architect's information trap. And this isn't some abstract theory either. This is the daily grind for so many of us who are just trying to manage and guide an IT landscape that's been built up layer by painful layer for decades.
We call this the 30-year IT trap. Think about it. Your company's tech stack is basically an archaeological dig site. You've got the mainframe layer from the 80s, the client-server stuff from the 90s, the Web 2.0 boom, and now you're piling on cloud-native microservices. Every single era brought its own tools, its own documentation, and created these deep, disconnected silos you see here. And the critical point is, these silos don't talk to each other. Your business capability map has no idea what your API documentation says. That disconnection is the trap. And it forces you, the architect, to be this human integration engine, which is just exhausting and, frankly, impossible to sustain.
Now this chart tells a really powerful and, let's be real, a painful story. Just look at that first bar. Almost half of an architect's week, a staggering 45%, is spent just searching for information. Not designing, not creating, not strategizing, just searching. And the real high-value work, the actual architecting, that gets squeezed down to just 30%. I mean, just imagine what you could do if you could flip those two bars. Imagine getting almost half of your week back. This isn't just about personal productivity, it's a huge opportunity cost for the entire business.
So the big question is, how do we get out of this trap? Well, we do it by building something we're calling an enterprise second brain. This is the big idea, the paradigm shift. This is where we stop thinking about our documents as a dusty old filing cabinet and start seeing them as the fuel for a living, breathing intelligence partner.
So what exactly is an enterprise second brain? Think of it as an AI system powered by tools like Google's NotebookLM that you train exclusively on your company's data. Now, here's the absolute key. It's not just doing a keyword search. It's built on large language models that actually get the context. This means the system can figure out that a customer record in a database file is the same thing as a client profile in a business deck. It doesn't just store your documents. It reads them, it digests them, and it truly understands how they all connect. And you might be thinking, this sounds like some massive multi-year project. But getting started is, well, it's shockingly straightforward. Step 1, you just gather up your sources. Pull together all those runbooks, diagrams, meeting notes, all of it. Step 2, you ingest and connect. You literally just upload them into a tool like NotebookLM. No complicated data modeling, no schemas, you're just feeding the brain. And then, step 3, activate. The second those files are in, you can start asking questions. In plain English, that's it. The barrier to entry is super low, but the potential payoff is absolutely massive. And just look at the kind of stuff you can feed it. Of course, you can use structured data like API docs, but you can also throw in totally unstructured text, like the transcripts from your last 5 stakeholder meetings. And that is where the real magic happens. Imagine the system connecting a technical decision from a runbook with the business reason that was kicked around in a meeting 6 months ago. It can finally connect the dots between that high-level vision in a strategy deck and the on-the-ground reality in your tech docs. This is how you actually bridge that infamous gap between business and IT.
Okay, so we've built the foundation.
Now let's talk about the payoff. This section is all about those magic moments, those instant insights that make you sit back and realize, wow, this is a totally new way of working.
Let's get practical with a super common scenario. You've got a new senior engineer joining your Project Phoenix team on Monday. You know how the first week usually goes, right? It's a total blur of intro meetings and a fire hose of links to wikis and design docs. It can take weeks, sometimes months before they're really productive.
Now imagine this instead. You just ask your second brain. Generate a technical onboarding brief for a new engineer on Project Phoenix. In seconds, literally seconds, it pulls information from dozens of different documents and spits out a clean, concise, actionable brief just like this. It gives them the key systems, the main APIs, the security protocols they need to know, and a direct link to the runbook. You've just turned weeks of frustrating discovery into a single 1-minute question. That is a massive accelerator for your team.
And onboarding is just the tip of the iceberg. You can instantly create an FAQ for a legacy system to stop your senior engineers from answering the same questions over and over. You could summarize the key points from 5 different stakeholder meetings right before you walk into a big presentation. Or how about this one? Create a list of every single system that depends on a specific database you need to migrate. What used to be a week-long digital forensics investigation is now just a simple question.
Look, these productivity boosts are amazing, but the real evolution for us as enterprise architects comes next. We're moving beyond just finding information faster and into the world of deep, interactive architectural analysis. This is where we start asking the really tough, strategic questions that were almost impossible to answer before.
This slide really puts it into perspective. On the left, that's the old way, a manual compliance check. It takes weeks of painful manual work, trying to cross-reference hundreds of pages of dense policy docs against technical diagrams. It's boring, and it's so easy to miss something. But on the right, that's the AI-powered approach. You can do a comprehensive gap analysis in minutes with a single question. It's not just faster, it's more accurate, it's consistent, and it's way more thorough.
And this is the kind of question that unlocks that power. Notice what's going on here. You're not just searching for a word. You are telling the AI to look at 2 completely different types of documents, a wordy policy and a visual diagram, and you're asking it to compare them. You're asking it to reason across these documents and spot the conflicts.
And look at the answer it gives back. It's not a vague guess, it is specific, it's cited, and it's totally actionable. The second brain has read the policy, it understood the specific rule in section 4.2, it looked at the diagram, figured out which services face the outside world, and then flagged the missing piece. It just found a critical needle in a giant haystack, a risk that a human team could have easily missed, with some really serious consequences. This is proactive architecture. This is prevention.
So, all of this brings us to our final section, the future. What does all this mean for the role of the enterprise architect? Well, I think it elevates the role. It transforms us from being the human search engine and gatekeeper into a true strategic advisor, supercharged by an incredibly powerful intelligence partner.
With an enterprise second brain, all that architectural knowledge gets spread across the whole organization. Your expertise isn't limited by your own brain or your calendar anymore. You know, when a developer on the other side of the world has a critical question at 3 a.m., they can get an instant, accurate answer. When a product manager is prepping for a meeting on a Saturday, they can get the summary they need. You're creating a single source of truth that is always on, 24/7.
And just think about where this could go. What if you could consume your own complex documents in totally new ways? Imagine asking your second brain, hey, create a 15-minute audio deep dive on the Project Phoenix architecture and explain all the key data flows. And then you just listen to that personalized podcast on your way to work. It's about turning static, boring information into a dynamic learning experience that fits right into your day.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. For decades, our architectural documentation has just been silent. We make it, we file it away, and we hope someone finds it. This new approach changes everything. It creates a real interactive conversation where your architecture can actually tell you about its own state, its history, its risks. So the question isn't just, what is our architecture anymore? It's, what is our architecture trying to tell us? And that, right there, changes everything. Thanks for watching.